didn't mean to. Wow. What? So sorry. There's like some messages here. Please pass the apple pie. Jill is leaving for Eretz Yisrael. That's very nice. Yaakova has to go. Baruch Hashem. Okay, so people are we having a few people leave, but we have. I just want to see that I.
Forgive me, I
Said-
have to go too. I wish
Yeah,
I was.
just
Yeah, I'm
go
gonna give you
too.
a hug because I'm also going to Israel.
When
And
are
then
you
I'm
going to
here in
Israel?
Israel. Stay in Hashem. I see my family once a year.
Wow.
Are you sure?
Not for Pesach. No.
Okay.
We're all gonna be there.
Yes.
Right.
That's great. So I have good expectations.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, so. Yeah, yes, we have for Pesach. Yeah, so I have more notes and things, but I think I don't know if I should read any more of the notes or we should just bring or read the notes. There's a beautiful teaching from the Pasha, but I don't know if I want to do that. Does anybody want to share something or say something?
Tell us what you got in your Israel box, because I love the ideas that came.
Oh, what did I get in the latest Israel box?
From label.
Lev Haolam. I can't remember what was in the latest one. But sometimes they kind of merge because there's usually like a cosmetic thing, and sometimes there's a chocolate thing or a baked thing, and sometimes there's an olive oil thing.
I love the stories behind.
Oh, the stories behind. Yeah.
Last time you said about they use the
The pits from the
olive pits,
avocado,
and also
from the olives, I'm
And
sorry.
also the dates that that farmer was, they were growing like dates and peppers, and then there was a boycott on the Shomron, so nobody would export their peppers, so they
Right.
concentrated on the date, and they
Right,
like, instead of growing like tons of dates on one branch, they like would pick most of them early and just like concentrate on, it was like big luscious dates or the juiciest dates.
so you were hoping for a Lev Haolam story. Okay,
I just thought that.
Yeah.
You don't remember.
well, I've been tidying up and I don't know where I put my Lev Haolam stories, but yeah, I'm not sure if I have one.
I have something so nice to read. It's only one page.
You have something so nice to read? Yeah, let's put the thing so people can see you.
It's actually.
Yeah, so I'm gonna put this over here and then turn it to face Mindy. Yeah.
Who's there? Hi, Sema. Is that Sema?
Oh, Seema and
And
Cheryl.
Cheryl, hi.
Yeah, there were more people, but some people have left.
Okay, so I'm reading from this book called Perspectives, from Exile to Redemption. It's from Rabbi Leib Scheinbaum and Rabbi Simcha Dessler. It's just a nice little chapter. It's called The Freedom Imperative. Hashem commanded Moshe to stretch out his hand towards the heavens, and there would be a thick darkness over the land of Egypt. This plague lasted for 3 days, during which time no one was able to move about, and no one was able to see anything. Rashi cites Chazal, who explained that other than punishing the Egyptian people, this plague also served a practical purpose. There were Rishaim, wicked Jews, who refused to leave Egypt. These evil Jews perished during the 3 days of Makas Hosha, so that the Egyptian populace should not see Jews also dying and say they are also being punished as we are. Chazal's choice of words, Rishaim, wicked people, for defining Jews who refused to leave Egypt seems a bit bold. Why would someone who wishes to remain a slave in a paganistic society obsessed with decadence and immorality be described as a Rasha? He's obviously a fool, but why view him as evil? Imagine going to the federal penitentiary for hardened criminals and offering amnesty to an inmate in the most depraved area of the institution. He would run from there at the first opportunity. If not, he's surely a fool, but definitely not evil. Apparently, Chazal have a different perspective on freedom and a Jew's obligation to free himself of every form of human bondage. This concept is truly a Jewish one. Any other nation would view an individual who seeks to remain in slavery as being foolish. Judaism, however, views one who wishes to remain a slave in a depraved, immoral environment as evil. For a Jew to be free is not an opportunity, it's an inherent obligation. The imperative for freedom is part of Kedushas Yisrael, the sacredness of Judaism. And as it is prohibited to hurt oneself physically, it is likewise forbidden to inflict harm on one's spiritual dimension. A Jew who is a slave in Egypt is privy to the most degenerate and corrupt society, which will obstruct his spiritual development. Furthermore, Jews who refuse to leave Egypt view themselves as Egyptians, not as Jews. They think they are natives and citizens just like everyone else. Alas, history has taught us the futility of such an observation. In the eyes of the Egyptians, assimilated Jews are nothing more than Jews who are not part of their society. We witnessed this phenomenon in Berlin when those Jews who attempted to cleanse themselves of the taint of Jewishness, who had publicly derided their Jewish heritage while seeking to be viewed and accepted as Germans, were looked upon by German people with contempt and disdain. In their minds, they thought they were Germans, but in the Germans' minds, they were still Jews. Being a part of the Am HaNivchar, the chosen nation, requires a certain inherent distinctiveness. This uniqueness should be a source of pride for every Jew. To deny one's affiliation with Am Yisrael is to denigrate his greatest God-given gift. How regrettable it is when the Gentile must remind the Jew of his heritage. I thought that was really intense, also like that people who don't want to leave exile are seen as evil, not just foolish. It was like pretty
Well,
intense.
It depends how you translate what the Russian.
Right.
Right, like how you translate Rishis, like. But it's telling us that that's the definition.
So
of Rishis.
what other translation
Well, for
is
Russia,
written
it's
to
with the
Russia?
names.
Isn't
Like,
Russia evil?
Well, that's
What-
one
one
like,
way?
I've been learning a way of translating it.
Mhm.
Like these classes I started listening to about Tanya, and she says like, that a tzaddik is like being in a completely regulated state of the nervous system, and a Russia's like dysregulated. So you're like disconnected from your, like, your higher choices and level of thinking.
So
right?
in a way, it makes sense because if you'll see hurt people.
Right,
And sometimes to the extent of vicious, like they'll nip you, they'll pinch you,
right.
they'll,
They're in a survival mode and they're trying to
so-
protect and all those things.
yeah.
It's really
And
fascinating. when you
so
look at
in a
conflict
way,
in the
they're
world.
not bad, but they do
Right,
bad.
right.
They react.
So, wait, so is there room, so, question, is there room for having compassion for Rishis?
Yes, not for the action, but for the person. Right,
Right.
because
They're sick.
obviously somebody would only do that if they're in pain or what's going on inside of them. But
Right.
it doesn't mean that they're not responsible for the action that they're taking.
Also, that's what we were saying, why they had to get the mitzvah of counting the new moon as the first mitzvah they got before they left Egypt. Because the moon is all about change and transformation. And they have to connect to that idea that as Jewish people, we plugged into change and transformation, not ein chadash tachat hashemesh, that things are as they are. So
So
those,
that thing that Shlomo said, who's bothered me?
which thing?
Ein Chodesh tachas
Oh,
ha'chol.
so this,
It feels so.
Which means,
there's
it-
nothing
nothing
new.
new under the
It
sun.
feels deflating.
So we spent the first part of tonight talking about the, like a sun mentality as you locked into like the circle, the cycle of the year. It's kind of, it's not this month of renewal and growth and renewal and growth. So a person who's stuck in Egypt is kind of stuck in that everything is as it is and it's fixed. And to get out of Egypt, Hashem wanted them to connect to a different reality, and that's why it gives them the mitzvah of the new moon and connecting to this the months, which is Hadash, Kiddush, and transformation. So it's like a headspace. Like you want to get out of Egypt, get into that headspace of change, possibility for change. So the person who can't do that, they stuck. And so they're Russia-ishness, the rishis is the stuckness more than the evil. It's the inability to get out of whatever bondage they're in. So stuck, so clippered, so unconnected to their own divinity.
Wow, and we even learned like the klipa in English is called a husk.
Right.
Hard. The
Right.
shell.
I mean, we can't say that anyone's really evil because we believe that everyone inside of
Right, at
all
their
those
core.
husks are beautiful, but they just have all that
Right.
clipper on them, all the husks. So you have to kind of chisel through.
So what you just said is then the rishis is the stuckness.
Well, the rishis, it could be
being
the stuckness.
Stubborn, what word did you use?
Oh, it's the rishis is the stuckness or the defendedness or the reactionariness or
Lower
like
brain.
all those survival mentality
The old
things.
stories that you're stuck in.
So I last week's parsha we learned about the Mishkan. And there's a beautiful idea that if you want to have a spiritual experience, you have to dump all your animal stuff on the copper mizbeach outside of the Chodesh and the Chodesh HaKadoshim. So you're coming into the Mishkan, you're coming into the Chatzer. The first thing you see is that ramp and that copper mizbeach, which was for offering your animal self. Can't go further till you've offered up your animal. What is your animal? It's your fear, it's your defensiveness, it's your, like when I was thinking
Ego.
about it, it's like all the things that when you think of an animal who's feeling threatened. What are they doing?
React.
Well, describe their
They
reactions. They
Attack.
They feel attacked.
Attack.
they attacking, they growling, they snarling, they scratching, they hissing.
Right.
If an animal is afraid, they hiding, they're cowering, they're under the table, they're running away. What other things do
Fight or
animals
flight.
do?
They're either fighting or
They're
flighting.
in fight or flight. So if you want
Playing
to,
dead, like shut down.
right, like dead. So if you
That's
want to
crazy.
progress
Crazy.
into the Kodesh HaKadoshim to have like a real moment of connection, to get into that Aaron, to kind of be in front of that Aaron with the Keruvim and have that moment, you have to dump your stuff, your animal stuff. So it's like the Russia got stuck. He's refusing to take his animal and throw it in the fire. So he can't move. He can't move on. He's so attached. He wants to carry on growling and snarling, you know.
Well, that's
So
why.
his
the
biggest
Seder-
evil is he won't move. He won't evolve.
Mhm.
He won't listen to a therapist, like someone trying to help him. He's frozen.
At the Seder, it says to put him next to the Chacham, right?
Right.
Like, so it's like, maybe the Chacham could help soften his defenses and give him hope of change and.
Ideally,
that.
but the Chacham says similar things, no? Does anyone want a napkin? I didn't put any napkins.
I don't know if I figured it out.
What is this thing? String.
He said it's like grass mixed with.
No, it's not grass.
No, it's like herbal.
Yeah.
Oh,
I said it's herbal
No,
tea
it's
with,
not sweet alcohol.
so Sarah, what do you think? What do you think of the tubi?
It
I'll
does
try it.
taste like grassy.
It's very grassy. The kids love it. It's like a very new hot thing.
What, can you tell me what it is? I'm about to try
It's
it.
like vodka and herbal tea mixed together.
Yeah.
But
That's
the
like
kids-
lemony.
Two totally different worlds.
So the base of it is vodka?
I don't know if it's vodka, it's
It's
some
40%
alcohol.
alcohol.
Yeah, it's alcohol,
Yes, it's
but kind of
like
mixed with
cyan.
wildflowers and
Cyan.
grass.
Oh.
I'll be right back.
Whoa.
It's strong.
Alcohol.
That is intense. That is like
To be.
really intense.
It's
Sweet.
lemons,
It's like-
herbs, flour, and tree extracts.
Right. Like
Wow.
The lemon.
Wow.
Mhm.
Oh my gosh.
Comes from Israel. It's made in Israel.
I don't think I
Have
like
you ever tried it?
masala.
I first tried it
I love masala.
actually when her son had a baby. She came up
With
to
meat?
Pomona
Mhm.
and he made a kiddush in the shul. And they served two big,
They sell it here in the liquor store.
Yeah. right down by everything, the liquor store. And by Wesley Kosher. It's made in Israel.
It's pretty interesting. It's very strong, but I'm sure it
It's
gets you
very,
up. It's very
I like
strong.
it. I like it. Sometimes it bothers my stomach, so I haven't had it in a long time.
It says
Strong.
enjoy as a chilled shot or mix with
I also
tonic.
but I also
What
feel like
soda
you could give
or
a
tropical
nasty
mango.
heartburn.
What did you think about it?
It's very tasty.
So it says
very
it's either
strong,
a shot or to be mixed with something.
Uh-huh,
'Cause
and I feel like
it
it's
is
gonna give you
strong.
heartburn.
it could.
Yeah.
So,
Good.
so thank you for your sharing, Mindy.
I also read a book from Finkelstein Library. It came out in the last year or two. It's a historical novel of the time of Yetzias Mitzrayim, but it says for mature readers only, it's not written for kids. It's like really intense. And when I was reading, it was the first one I was like, maybe I wouldn't have wanted to go out of Mitzrayim.
It was scary. Where were we
so-
going to the desert?
It's so
The
descriptive.
unknown.
It's called The Last Slave.
So
A Jewish book?
Yeah, it's a Jewish book, but it's written like very descriptive, intense. Like when I was reading, I was like, I wonder if I would have wanted to go out of Mitzrayim. Like I might have gotten stuck in that.
we don't know
like-
what we
Like
would-
it goes through the events and who is this person? Like Moshe died already. Like, how's he saying that he's Moshe? Like, and the cynicism and we already tried that. We went through it. Like, how could that be? Like, I understood it in like a whole nother way it's really interesting.
But if you think about it, for every 5 Jews, only one got out.
But that's crazy to me.
That means
I have
that,
always been haunted by that. And
That
I hope
means-
that's not gonna be that way this time.
well, the Lubavitch already said it's not gonna be.
No
that
Jew
way.
will be left behind.
No Jew will be left alone.
The Lubavitch already said that in this school, everyone's gonna be redeemed, but I do see Jews falling off the wagon left, right, and center with intermarriage and everything. They just like falling, so I don't know.
And the cynicism. It's
Yeah.
hard to stay hopeful when people are going through suffering and you don't see
Right.
the,
Light at the end of the tunnel.
yeah.
You know what I'm so excited about? I'm so excited when Mashiach is gonna be like pointing to all the people who thought they were not Jewish. And it's like, no, you're actually Jewish. Like, there's so many Jews that don't know they're Jewish. That's gonna be pretty cool.
A rude awakening, or a good awakening, actually.
I mean, I've met so many non-Jews in my life that I'm like, I am sure this person has a Jewish neshama. I feel it.
So, you know,
But
once
they don't know that, and they're not, they're not.
I went
interested.
to Costa Rica many years ago. And was driving, we're going on a trip, and someone's saying, oh, she wants to be cremated. So, so I said, you know, to what I know is that when our soul departs the body, it hovers over the body until it's buried. And that's why we,
Very quickly.
very quickly.
But
and
do we
don't-
require that a non-Jew also has a burial? Like, does a Jew believe that a non-Jew has to have a
So
burial?
hold on. And so also we have the halacha that we don't hand anything over a dead body. It goes around. It's because the soul is hovering over and we don't want to disrespect or disrupt. I don't know exactly. And so I was telling her that and then she's like, okay, I think I want to be buried. I think she was a Jew. I don't know, but there was something there that had
Touched her.
connection. She
Right,
was
she reacted.
interested and she wanted to know. She didn't say anything, but the fact when I said it was a yoga spa resort that took us on a trip, so they're all, usually the yogis are Jewish. A lot of them. And
Yeah.
so it was just very interesting that when, you know, she was like, okay, I'm gonna be, like I told my daughter, I want to be cremated. I don't know why we spoke about it or what, but
A heck of a lot.
when I
cheaper.
just told her this belief of the soul hovering until you're buried, and she's like, I want to be buried. Oh, that was interesting.
I feel like even if God forbid I wasn't Jewish, I would also want to be buried because it seems so like wanna go back into the earth where you came from, just like you do a compost and it just feels healthier.
Mother,
Holistic, it's like recycling.
Yeah,
right.
yeah, it just seems like natural.
Yeah, yeah.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah, I think it's more respectful than just to become into nothing.
Right.
Although we know
We
the
believe in the
bone,
holiness of the body. That's the whole reason why we don't want to be cremated. The whole reason why we have kavod to the mace is that we really feel like the body has infinite potential. The body has
as
a
holds
lot
the-
of
But
holds the
also
soul.
Tichi, it's amazing. We're gonna, that body's gonna be
So I was
resurrected.
just gonna say
But
that
just
the
to
interesting
lose
thing
those.
is what, when you cremate, there's that part of the bone that technically,
The loose
Yeah.
bone,
that
Doesn't disintegrate,
doesn't.
right?
has that yet been scientifically proven, you know?
Well, we know that.
Like if someone was,
from-
God forbid, burnt in a fire, is like that bone found after like with the ash? I really wonder
They
about that.
usually find some,
I heard that in the
Leftover.
Holocaust, they had leftover pieces.
Loose bones.
I'm assuming that's what it was.
What I find so fascinating is that there are so many stories about fires and like the Sefer Torah doesn't burn. Or like the holy books don't burn. Has happened in so many different stories.
That's true. We had,
So-
my kids were in an accident, a few years ago. And somebody hit our car with all
I
my
remember
kids in
that.
it. I wasn't
I
driving, my
remember.
sister was driving. There was a chitas in the door where the guy drove into. My daughter was in a car seat there and
nothing
nobody
happened.
got hurt.
Well,
That is a good ad. That is a good ad for pizzas in the car.
What is that?
Mhm.
That is,
Flemish, Helen
right.
and Tanya. It's protective, like we keep it in the car, right?
well, my son had a car seat and I had this little pouch. And I had this little tehillim in a pouch that is, separated tehillim in little, pamphlets. And he wanted it and he kept it there. And I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna leave it there because it's from the door to him. I'm like, let it be a shmir, or then we switched it, I don't know where it went, but it's somewhere, and, no, it's, yeah. These things,
So Rabina, what do you have to say? You're there
It's so good to be
hanging
here.
out at the bottom, at the base of the table there. What do you want to tell us, Sarabina?
What do I want to tell you? Yesterday, I was warming up something and I didn't have the proper cover to cover the pot. So I put this chilled pots cover. That was, half of it was on the fire itself, like, you know, it was bigger than a frying pan. So it was overheated by fire. I picked it up. I heard it was like sizzling, it was like making sounds. All of a sudden, it burst, all the pieces from it. It's,
was it glass?
yeah, it was
Glass
glass.
shattered.
It's not only shattered, it's like exploded.
And you're okay.
And I'm holding this piece. And I didn't know what happened. Explosion happening right in my hand while I'm holding this. The pieces went all over. And I'm standing there, I'm shocked, I'm like traumatized, but nothing happened to me. I'm like, my eyes are there, my face is here, my hands are fine. Right before that, I did an act of something good. Wow, Mama saved my life.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
It could go to my eye, and it could be the end of my eyes, that's for sure. Could have gone to my brain, it went all over the kitchen.
Wow.
So you
It
lost the
was-
food?
Yes.
What?
The food was lost?
You know what I did? I was so hungry. I was scared that I went there. I had most of it, and in one part I found a piece of there. But I was eating very carefully because I knew it might be there. I was just blown away to see this thing in my hand.
Wow.
And I was fully fine. It was just such a miracle to me. And miracles happens like every day to us, you know, we choose not to see it sometimes.
Well, I want to thank Hashem for a miracle. We have a huge tree outside. It's really like, it's the biggest tree I think we have in our garden. And my son Yosef has been in Eretz Israel and he came back and he's standing on the porch and he says, Ma, when did that tree fall down? I didn't even know it had fallen down. Huge tree, and it fell down. It could have fallen this way onto the house. It could have fallen onto our deck. We had like a little house in the garden. It could have fallen onto the little house. It kind of fell like to the side, and there's two trees that are way thinner than it. And they kind of holding up the tree. It didn't fall on a single thing. Like it's a huge tree, it didn't fall on even the firewood that's stacked underneath it. It didn't fall on
So
the
it's like
bed.
hanging on
It's
the
just-
two trees?
It's kind of like leaning on these two like way smaller trees that are sort of holding it, and maybe there's a vine. It's just like it could have done so much damage. So I want to say thank you,
Wow.
my Lord, for that kindness that the
Zion.
tree fell. It didn't
Thank you,
fall on
Hashem.
anything. So Baruch Hashem. Baruch Hashem.
Baruch Hashem. What's the sense of Nissan? The sense.
Let me get the.
Melinda Ribner book?
It's the hood.
That apple pie is next level.
Hmm.
I was like scraping the bottom.
Yes.
And while you were letting on the
I was
vegetable.
vegan for a week and I'm still hungry. It's like weird. I got back and I'm just like so hungry.
Were you hungry while?
No, I was fine. But then when I got back, I was like, oh my gosh, real good.
I need a steak.
I did. I got a steak right away. I was like, hope this is not unhealthy, but I just.
And I just want to share a little thoughts about this week's Pasha, because we're talking about the Mishkan. And in my yoga class, we did this really nice
Yeah, listen to the recording.
recording of walking into the Mishkan and coming closer and closer and closer. And then in this week's Pasha, it actually says how Hashem calls to Moshe from that space, and how Moshe is drawn in and Hashem calling him out. That's, right from between the wings of the cherubim. That's where, in our own efforts to reach to this place of kind of yechidus with ourselves and with the chelik elokah, we want to be right in front of that aron, right, looking or listening to that space, and this week's parsha starts off and Hashem's calling to Moshe from that place. It's kind of
I feel like there's still so much learning I need to do to understand the whole, I think with the Kruvim.
the
So
Kruvim itself
fascinating,
or the
so
whole
fascinating.
thing, or the whole
The
thing of
Kruvim, the
Aron.
Kruvim fascinate me, very much so.
Well, you know what's interesting about the Kruvim that I never knew before, the cover of the Aron, the lid, it was one piece of gold. And then they had to knock down the middle piece, and then there were two pieces sticking up because they hammered down the middle piece. So there were two like things, and from those two things sticking up, they shaped the Kruvim. It's not like they stuck the Kruvim on. It was a big thick piece of gold that they flattened in the middle, and then the two Kruvim were left from. Do you know what I'm saying?
Kind of.
I'll show it.
But
to
and
you.
just the Kruvim themselves, I always imagine like the way that like the cherubs, like the way that they're drawn as like these like angel babies or something.
Yeah. With
It's so
these
interesting.
wings.
Right. It's like a boy and girl angel baby.
Right.
Like it's so bizarre.
know,
It doesn't, it's.
Was it really like that?
Jewish, but it's so
Right, was
Jewish.
it really like that?
Why is it not Jewish?
I don't
Because
know, maybe.
Leonardo da Vinci drew it on
Yeah,
the
maybe,
church.
maybe.
ceiling.
Disassociation, but it's so fascinating, and it's like, and that they were in like a lovemaking pose. That's what I heard, that they were like entwined in like a lovemaking pose when they were together, when they were facing each other.
Right.
It wasn't just that they were like facing each other, they were actually like together. engaged.
Embrace,
Yeah,
they
like,
were embracing.
Mindy,
that's
I'm
what I
trying to
just read.
explain this, but one picture is worth 1,000 words.
Wow.
You see how it starts off? It's like
Oh,
they
wow.
take the bottom and they bash the bottom down,
Uh-huh.
and then the two sides are protruding. Then from those two sides, they shape the Kruvim. It's like the menorah was one piece of gold, one piece, and
Right,
then they
then they
like
had to-
shaped all the
Wow,
details,
right.
but it started with just like one piece. It's an amazing book, by the way, if you
Would you
Is
get that book?
anything,
have that
I
book.
just got it from
Oh,
the bookstore in, next to Wesley Kosher.
it's actually like, my baby just had his upturnish. And
Awesome, how's it? Oh, I just saw a
Big
picture.
it was really cute, but, when we we're cutting his hair. And someone was like, oh, now you have payas. So my husband was like, actually, you had payas the whole time. You just couldn't see them. Now you get to see
Right.
them.
Right, right, right.
Mhm.
So the cherubim were there all the time, but now you can see them. Or as Michelangelo said, David is in, or Moses is inside the marble. You just had to cut away everything else.
Right. That was
Okay,
just
so
fun.
the push for this month is the area of healing. Well, the energy of the month is moving towards greater freedom. The area of healing is speech. And the reason why speech is connected to the healing is something that we didn't speak about at all. But in Mitzrayim, there's a whole play between Paro and Moshe. And Paro is the back of the neck and Moshe is the front. And Paro is making us forget, and Moshe is sort of remembering. And then Pesach, the mouth speaks. And it's all about, like in the calling of the Rosh Chodesh, the people would call it out. It's this articulation. And so Paro is, like Amalek. You don't mean anything, you're not important, you don't have cheshivas. Paro, just this is how it is. And then
You're stuck.
kind of the stuckness of it, and then the Pesach is the mouth speaks, and we speak the story and we speak it out. So the area of healing is the Seder, talking about it, talking, processing. It's interesting because we have a whole culture of therapy. People pay other people to listen to them speaking, and then as you speak, you kind of speak yourself towards healing. And sometimes you feel like you don't even know your own thoughts until you talk to someone about them. And then as you speaking, you get clarity. So something about that is the healing of Nissan, is this articulating and speaking.
And
And
that's what
speech.
the sense is.
So it's, there's
articulation.
always,
You don't have to pay someone.
there's
to
two
read
things.
it,
There's
you
an
just talk
energy
about
of the
it.
month. And then there's this area of healing of the month. So the area of healing is speech, but
Of
the
this month?
energy is moving towards freedom. So in Hebrew, you're looking for the one that's the chush. I'm not sure which is the chush. Is the chush the speech, or is the chush this moving of the seed bursting out of the soil? And I'm not sure.
And when you say the healing is speech, could that also be inclusive of, for some people, the healing is to not speak when they want to speak?
Well, it's probably, the healing is knowing when to say what, and maybe sometimes part of
When to
that
hold
healing
your
could be
words.
not,
That's part of
it could be not speaking, but the whole thing of Pesach is the mouth speaking and telling the story and telling our
Peh,
stories.
Sak, the
Right.
word itself is peh, mouth.
Right,
Sak is
Right.
like a sikha. Book.
right, Pesach,
So I
the
would
mouth.
think there's the balance. This is the month of talking, and then there's other times to be quiet.
But
Right,
it's also not just talking, because we also do things like with the mar, like you're supposed to chew it and taste it. So
Right.
it's like
Action.
it's-
There's a
You're
lot
not
of
supposed to talk
action.
while
It's
you
thematic,
do the
it's not
matzah,
just
you're not
like-
supposed to-
Yes.
it's not just talk therapy, it's
Right.
like.
right.
Right, you're
So-
not just speaking.
So the astrological, so the sign is Aries, the tribe is Yehuda. And the holiday is, guess what?
Big one.
Yeah,
Isn't
So-
Pesach like an opening?
Pesach, the mouth speaks, not so much, well, I don't know, is it an opening?
It's
I don't know.
it's spelled differently.
Spelled differently, the Pesach.
Yeah.
Hosea,
Yeah.
spelled with a samach.
So, yeah, so on this day, Moshe erected the Mishkan, and this is also, according to some opinions, the day that creation began. So that parallels with the building of the Mishkan. So it's Very
Rosh Chodesh
special day.
Nissan.
Yeah. Rosh Chodesh Nissan. Yeah,
So it's interesting that the last month was like the seed,
right.
like the,
This, the Tu B'Shvat and the seed and the potential, and this is when it's kind of manifesting. Yeah.
So when you
Yeah.
were saying about,
I mean,
you know, expressing ourselves,
when you was, I was saying about what?
we were saying about expression, right?
Right.
Expressing ourselves to someone,
Right.
even paying to someone to hear yourself.
Right.
So to me, it sounded like, in order to have the focus and clarity of what desire is, it's important to just take it out, like take it out of yourself. And then the clarity of the desire is there. And once we know, or I know what's my desire is, then I could ask for Hashem to fulfill my desire. But the talk could be also to get you to the place, or to get a person to the place of understanding the needs, wants, desires, and then be the vessel to receive that desire and get the Shefa into the vessel.
I think talking helps us clarify what it is that we're feeling. So I know I didn't understand any part of Torah until I talked to you. I can't talk it to you that I didn't get it.
but I also know there are some people who talking, it doesn't get them through. They need to write it down and to see really what's happening.
Right.
So there's
Yeah,
different
Well, when you
personalities.
integrate, you need all the pieces, it
To
doesn't
see
mean
it.
only talking with the mouth
Right.
without
Right.
the rest.
Right.
Yeah, so for me, journaling works amazingly. I love journaling. But also when you were saying about you could speak to Hashem and have a therapy session with Hashem. So this is like the most important thing these days, they say this his bodiless, right? Just spending time quietly with Hashem, connecting and reconnecting to that Shekhinah inside of us, right?
Right. Well, for me now, when I think about that, I think of this journey from the outer courtyard into the Chodesh, then going to the Chodesh production, then kind of progressing to being in front of that Aron, you know, looking at that space. That's sort of what that feels like. That's all about.
So when you were
But
saying
then
about
No one was
therapy,
really privy to see that.
Well, I guess Moshe, like Moshe was called and Hashem called him, but then he never went back to that, because then it was the Aaron.
But I'm saying, the normal person that went and brought a
Right, right,
carbon
right,
never
right.
saw the
Right.
inner sanctum.
Right, right.
no,
But we can go
no.
there in,
Only the.
It's almost like it was done for
Even
them.
the inner, not even the Kodesh, they didn't even see the Kodesh.
It was done for
It
them.
was done outside, the.
But where were the
Before it was
Levim
done
and the
out-
steps where the
Yeah,
Levim were
they were on
singing?
the yeah, that
And
was,
so the Jews saw that.
they saw that, but that was the outer altar where the behemoths were, you know. Where
It wasn't inside the.
it was open air,
Mhm.
so the
So it was
smoke
a
went
bit-
up. And that's where the Jews were stopped.
So
To
they
go
didn't even
into the
co-
building, which was closed with a roof, was only Kohanim. You never.
but in meditation.
So when
we
you
can
were,
transcend.
Yeah, in
When-
meditation we can go there.
when Mindy was talking about, that talking is a therapy. So I do mirror work, and one of the mirror works that I do is, I tell myself, you know, I love you. And I'm sorry for you going through, and I forgive you, because we play a part in our story. And so, you know, whenever I walk through the mirror, I smile. I deserve to be smiled to. And it was interesting that one night, she went looking for her father, and he had left already. And she came back and she went talking to the mirror. You talk to you. And I was like, I was so happy to be able to example of like she went to the mirror to talk to me.
That's so cool.
And I'm like, and she's 2. So
That's
that
so
warmed
cool.
my
Yeah.
heart. You
That's so
know,
amazing.
that
Once heard that like little babies get weirded out if they look until a certain age. Like,
So-
they don't look in the mirror.
so
too?
Yeah,
it's
I
interesting
heard
because
intention.
Because the way I grew
Oh,
up
they
is
get
that
freaked
unless
out?
before a year, you don't put a baby in front of the mirror.
Right.
Till they're
Why?
first 2.
But my
Why?
son,
What's that
because they can see beyond, and the mirror is a reflection of them, so they can, I don't know, see. the
Oh,
color.
really? I never knew.
I don't know, but the interesting thing is with my son, Whenever he cried and my husband put him by the mirror, he would stop crying.
Well, it's
As a
interesting.
baby.
Yeah, because it's fascinating. We're just used to it.
I don't know, and I was a little upset because I know we don't put babies in front of the mirror, but I guess nobody taught him that or didn't have that custom, I don't know. But, it was very interesting because it's so unusual. And I don't know, maybe it was his empathy or compassion, like he didn't want that other baby to cry, so he stopped. I don't know.
In Montessori infant rooms, they put mirrors for the babies.
In the what?
In Montessori, like for infant rooms.
Must be just like
Yeah.
a little disorienting for them. Before they've understood,
I
like.
don't think
that's
it's
the-
them.
No,
because
she-
they don't
Right,
say
they don't realize it's them.
And you know, for the first year, whenever he did that, he would stop crying. It was just,
Well, maybe he thought he was just looking at another face, like a beautiful baby face.
I don't know, it didn't work for him.
Wow.
It was
She
just,
is a smart one. You're not gonna stop me with this.
It's very powerful to do eye contact with yourself in the mirror. Not only to look in the mirror, but
It
to
is
actually
So
hold
big.
up handheld mirror where you can get real close. And just look into your own pupils.
and so you look in
It's
one
really
eye
intense.
so that you can have. In one, because if you look at two, you look at your face, if you
Right.
look at one, you kind of. Pinpoint in and you're looking at yourself, in yourself. And so, yeah.
She's gonna get us something. She's black.
He needs to sleep, but I'm glad that there's something to occupy him.
She's totally mesmerized by whatever she's looking at.
It's movies. And I don't do
But I
that.
don't hear anything,
No, I shut it as respect.
so she doesn't hear it.
She doesn't. None of this, you wanna give her? a
My
clean-
kids, they like, they
Miss
like
Crackers?
screen time, but like, I don't like. I give them as little as possible, but anyways, I turn off the.
Oh, it's over
sound.
there. Can you
much
pass
less,
me
like,
that crackers?
Stimulation.
These?
These?
Yeah.
It's much less
Yes, when I
stimulation.
turn off the audio, then it's much less pouring in. It's not so.
It's like I'm going to a fancy with this. I've been so, taken aback. I only was craving healthy food. But then, I don't know,
When you were there.
tonight I just gave in to
It
temptation.
was all the fruits and vegetables.
It was
the
all
raw,
healthy, clean.
like-
I've been, I
And
think
you
I
felt
lost 5
different?
pounds this week,
You lost 5 pounds?
probably.
You look so amazing.
You,
You're doing it for a while.
What?
See that you're losing.
She was out of town.
I was out of town, but I'm saying I have been eating pretty clean for quite a while now. Perm, I didn't even touch one piece of junk food, like that's epic for me.
You have a program that you're doing or just?
No, it's not a program, I'm just trying to just eat only good
Conscious
food,
food.
but tonight I was like, having this and having this.
It's okay. You had a treat and
Yeah.
did it.
I mean, I am, because it's exactly, because
You
it's
just said
Rosh
it.
Chodesh, Fabrengin at Brach's house.
Right.
It's a. it's a
Only
special-
integrated.
And you walk
Yeah,
out,
this
you
is
can
good.
continue your lifestyle out there. And
Yeah.
no gifts.
And what I see
Yeah.
is
Thank you
a
again.
person
For having
Yes.
this
at the
house.
head
It's
of like.
Beautiful
life,
events, it's
and that the
amazing.
person's like in a Superman
This
pose.
Russian family that I was talking about before, remember?
Doing-
They
That's like the
need,
truth in it.
they need matzahs, they need money, they need a lot of things. Where can I, and they need mezuzahs to be changed or checked. You don't understand how much I tried, I was not masliach with it. The mezuzahs are old. And I contacted this rabbi, this person, that person. I'm just not masliach to find someone to do, I was willing to pay for them. The mom is suffering. I cannot find anyone to do it.
To do what? To put mezuzahs on their doors?
Some kashab is just for food. Pay some food.
Okay, I have to tell them that.
To, you can't find someone to put mezuzahs for them?
To take them into the school and to check them, most probably they're not good because
I'll
they're.
give you a number of some. No, you really.
I hope it's gonna be good, because I'm telling you, I'm not, it's not moving, this case
Yeah.
is like.
Now we have the new month and the new energy and added.
We're gonna
stuff.
get more information, Rafa, on what you were talking about, how like the people who do like
Throughout the year.
planetary stuff, like what they're
Right.
saying, like I would love to learn more about that.
That what?
Phone kashab, his phone number?
Why
What she was
don't
saying, like
I-
astrologers are seeing
Right.
happening.
Oh,
It's state or night, like what?
I didn't say, I don't know if it's exactly say
Just
tonight.
saying in
it's
general,
like
the world-
It's like this.
I believe
time,
that,
people
I
are
am living
saying,
it and I believe it,
um,
so.
I don't know
Trust
what,
me.
I don't know why I don't have a phone number now.
I'll
let's
do
see.
one, I'll give you one gem,
Um,
because I can't put
I just see the sofa center,
grid,
Rabbi
grid.
Cass, but I
From
don't
each-
seem to have
a grid,
maybe I can
grid.
find Rabbi
a
Cass.
grid.
Seema, you still there?
Another, it's a grid. I don't know what's going on in this
Mm.
grid. It's a grid.
What's the,
Okay, wait,
I have a good, you have a great?
Rabbi
It's like in
Cass.
front of my eyes.
Oh,
it's
here.
a
Three,
grid.
five, six.
Yeah, I have a number
But
two.
it's somehow-
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna turn this off. Sim, I'm gonna turn it off. I think,
the number, I should just take it from.
yeah, just, okay, so I'm gonna end this. Everyone was here. Thank you so much.